We offer to be a control group.
What's up, everybody? This is Brian Pfeiffer, marketingmeathead.com. Today we're going to talk about the Las Vegas mayor and a little controversy with CNN.
How do you know until we have a control group? We offer to be a control group.
So the mayor of Las Vegas basically stated that she's going to be willing to, sacrifice the citizens of Las Vegas to be a control group for the Rona. But ironically, this interview between Anderson Cooper here and the Las Vegas mayor, basically they called it total insanity here in the headlines. But I found it very interesting, and I wanted to kind of go through some of the clips. I didn't take the whole interview and break it down. It was about 25 minutes. I will link that below. But the rest of the interview, so I took out some clips, and I wanted to kind of talk about some of the clips, and then toward the end I'll kind of give my 2 cents a little bit and let you guys decide what you feel like is your stance on the whole situation of getting back to work and getting the economy going again. So let's go ahead and get started here.
Anybody who knows anything about statistics knows that, for instance, you have a vaccine.
You're offering
the
citizens of Las Vegas to be a control group to see if your theory on social distancing works or doesn't work.
Basically, the mayor's saying that, listen, the city thrives on, tourism, obviously, and people coming to the city. And without it, everybody that works in the hospitality industry, which is myself included, is basically not going to be able to make any money with the hotels closed, the casinos closed, the restaurants, obviously, unlimited capacity in most cases, and ones in the casinos are all closed because they boarded up the Bellagio. But this is interesting. This is her stance, and this is her feelings, and we're going to go on here and we're going to talk a little bit about more where she says some other stuff. But you can clearly see that Mr. Anderson Cooper over here, he's taking the hard stance, like this is not the right thing to do, this and that. So it's kind of the left and the right opinion here, and I'm listening to both sides of the fence here. So let's go on.
Absolutely. I want everything back. We've never closed down the United States. We've never closed down Nevada. We've never closed down Las Vegas because that's our job, an entertainment capital of the world where everything's clean.
Hundreds of thousands of people to come to Las Vegas. I get the financial losses people are suffering, which is awful, but you're encouraging, hundreds of thousands of people coming there in casinos, smoking, drinking, touching slot machines, breathing circulated air, and then returning home to states around America and countries around the world. Doesn't that sound like a virus petri dish? How is that safe?
What it sounds like? You're being an alarmist. I'm not. I've lived a long life. I grew up in the heart of Manhattan. I know what it's like to be with subways and on buses and crammed into elevators.
So basically, it's comical, okay? She called him out and said he's being an alarmist, and at the same time, he's kind of just like, wow, like I can't believe she just called me that, because he's taking the stance of basically everyone in the world, the world right now. Most of the countries in the world have adapted social distancing or some kind of a economic shutdown to slow the spread of the virus. So I do see her side a little bit, but I also see his side, and he's more in line with the overall population. I would think she's kind of more on the other side of the fence. So let's go on here.
I am not a private owner of a hotel. I wish I were. And I would have the cleanest hotel with 6 feet figured out for every human being comes in there.
So the fact that she's saying like a clean hotel is going to make a difference in the spread of the virus, that doesn't really make any sense. I think science has already kind of proven that you could have the cleanest restaurant or hotel or wherever you're at in the world, and there could be spotless and even disinfectant spread all around on the counter surfaces and whatnot. But if you happen to breathe the air of a person that's in that vicinity that has the virus, you're going to be able to contract it. So having the cleanliness is no factor in my opinion. And as far as the 6 feet distancing, that part of it makes sense. But again, how are you going to do that in a an environment like Las Vegas when people come here to party and hang out? It's just doesn't make sense to me.
Because it would take weeks, as I think you probably know, before anyone realized a place was a epicenter of viral infection. That it would take weeks for that would actually to show up. You're comfortable with that?
So he makes a good point. Like the virus could potentially be in someone's system for up to 14 days. And unfortunately, you don't even know you have it. It's asymptomatic. You can be walking around. You can be giving it to other people, and that's the biggest problem with this whole thing. It is not knowing that you have it, and you can spread it to people without knowing it, and that has been the whole root of this mess from the get-go, is that issue, and he's trying to bring that up to her. So let's see what else she says here. And again, I've skipped a few sections of this video because it was really long, and there were some parts that they just kind of bickered back and forth, and it was kind of boring. So I brought out the best of the best in this video.
Could last into December, could recur every year, and could be part of something that we will be dealing with for a long, long time. So taking that into consideration, and that we have, once you're diagnosed that you're positive, we have no preventive treatment other than staying away from everybody, which is your choice to do and has been asked by our governor, and everybody's doing, but with no timeline, no treatment, and no cure, no vaccine, this could go on for months, maybe even a year.
All right, so I definitely see her point here. The fact that some of the experts, the scientists, Dr. Fauci, and some of the other people out there are saying that it could potentially go on for a longer period of time, and it could be like a second wave of some sort. And what she's saying on her side of the fence is that, like, listen, they really didn't give us any exact numbers here on when this is going to be over, when it's going to end, and we can't function as a society in Las Vegas, without having any business for an extended period of time. We're already struggling, and you can imagine what it's going to be like in 3 months from now, 6 months from now. We lose the entire summer here. That's a whole year of revenue for my company. So I get where she's coming from a little bit on her side of the fence, but again, there's always two sides of the fence. So I'm not taking sides here. I just want to make this video and make sure that everybody kind of knows both sides of the fence, and then we can make our judgments based on our own opinion.
Everywhere in the city, trying to hold the hands of families and everyone else to get them back to work so they can pay for the food for their children and keep a roof over their head. And we are 2.3 million, and we have so many, probably close to 900,000 that are out of work because this wonderful city's been shut down.
So she's saying that 900,000 people out of 2.3 million are out of work, which is probably a realistic number. That's at least close to half of the population, and obviously that makes sense in a city like this where it's all based on tourism. So again, she's kind of just drilling in her point here, and she made hints throughout this whole interview of how people are hitting up her office and basically telling her, like, listen, I can't pay my my rent, I have no food for my family, I'm going to be out on the streets in a month, and that's where she's coming from. She's coming from it as a elected official for the people, as the mayor of Las Vegas, and I get her side of the fence here. So let's hear what Anderson says.
The governor says, unfortunately, I've known the mayor. I don't need politicians weighing in on what's the best date would be.
I am a politician.
I need doctors and medical sound advice.
No. And who are his people? And are they, in fact, the best that we can have? I'm assuming yes.
So, she's saying that, I'm not a politician. And then she goes back and says, I am a politician. Well, she's a mayor, so she's definitely a politician. Okay, there's no doubt about that. And she's, having her... I'm sure she's playing the same battle that a lot of people are playing in politics right now. Like, what's right? What is going to be the right answer here? Do we go back to work and deal with the implications of more death and more people getting the rona, or do we actually go back and deal with the implications of keeping the economy shut down, which is going to cause all kinds of other issues, which we'll talk more about in a little bit. Let's see what Anderson has to say.
Who've come here to live, come here to build it, and we were not broken, and we need to get back to work. That's it.
So basically she was saying here that the system that we had in place was not broken when they shut everything down, and it wasn't. I mean, we were in full business was still coming in, people were still flying, but those have changed. Okay, the airlines have basically, if you look at about the second week of March, the graph goes like this for the amount of flights, domestic and whatnot. So there's an issue here that she's kind of not really addressing, the fact that, okay, if we open up the hotels and we open up the nightclubs and we open up the other stuff, what if nobody comes? What if nobody wants to get on a plane? What if nobody wants to stay in a hotel? What if nobody wants to be around other people at a hotel or a nightclub or whatever? What's the point in opening back up if there's no business and the companies are just going to open up and just lose money? It might as well just stay closed. They're better off probably losing the money at the rate they are than paying a bunch of employees to staff an empty club or an empty casino or whatnot. So
There's Chinese researchers have shown how this virus spreads, and I just want to put up for our viewers. I just want to put up for our viewers. This is a restaurant.
Anderson, you are tough.
No, I'm not
We're
talking.
back to China. This isn't China. This is Las Vegas, Nevada.
Wow. Okay, that's really ignorant.
Well, that one right there just makes her kind of lose a little bit of credibility. The fact that it's China or Las Vegas, it doesn't really make any difference. The virus doesn't know boundaries. It's an invisible enemy. We are at an invisible war, and it's a human virus. So whether it's in Russia or whether it's in China or whether it's in the U.S. and Las Vegas, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing to everybody. It affects everybody the same way. So she's definitely losing a little bit of credibility here, and he's going to kind of eat it up.
This is a restaurant. And the yellow circle, that's an ignorant statement.
That's really ignorant. Exactly what I said. He pretty much just called her straight up ignorant. That's, a news reporter talking to a mayor of a city. So that's pretty comical in my opinion.
That's a restaurant, and yes, it's in China, but there are human beings too. That yellow is a person who is asymptomatic and infected, and all those other red circles are other diners who that one diner passed the virus to. All those other people became infected in a restaurant that had air conditioning, and they believe it was the air conditioning which helped the virus.
So, yeah, in that case, that graph that he showed, that makes total sense. I mean, that's reconfirming some data I think that people have already pretty much agreed on overall, that one person potentially can pass it on to multiple people. In fact, I think there was somebody in South Korea that actually passed it on to 1,300 people, as far as I could tell, and some crazy number like that. So one person in a crowded room could get a lot of other people sick. So he's definitely making a good point here, and he it's something that she really doesn't have a rebuttal for, unfortunately.
I mean, you're offering nothing other than being a cheerleader, which I guess is what part of your job is, and I respect that. And you seem like a very nice person, but I don't understand. Do you not have any sense of responsibility if you're calling for something to at least try to work to make it as safe as possible?
I speak with.
He called her a freaking cheerleader, and he's like, "You're a very nice person," because he basically just totally smashed her in the face and was like, "Okay, well, you're a cheerleader, but you're a nice person. Like, you have no ability to do anything." And to his point here, what he's trying to say is, okay, you're the mayor of the city. If you want to open back up, then what are you doing to help stop the spread? And what are you doing with the people in the city of Las Vegas, the casino owners and whatnot, to work with them to get better at preventing this from spreading to being an epicenter of some sort and bringing it back to other cities, since people are going to be traveling back and forth. So I get his point here too a little bit. So, but he's really ripping on her, and it's just, I had to do a video on this. It's too good to not pass this one up.
And potentially die.
No, you're talking disease. I'm talking life. I'm talking life and living. These are people who have had to abandon. Well, it maybe doesn't to you. It does to us here in Las Vegas. So
here's her, with her argument, life and living. And then he's like, this doesn't make any sense, because what he's talking about is not getting the virus to live too, and she's talking about life and living if you don't have a job and you have to eat. So there's like this is like the argument right now. That's what's going on in everybody's head right now, and all the news media is just going crazy with all the clickbait.
I am talking about the workers. I'm talking about the low-income, middle-income workers that are out free and without a dime in their pockets.
You're actually talking about casino owners, your friends, but I'm
not talking about casino.
Right, well, you were, but now you've switched.
I'm on the same.
So here's Anderson kind of calling her out, saying, obviously it's Las Vegas, and that she's the mayor of a big city where the casinos pretty much call the shots in the city. Let's be real. And what he's saying is that, okay, you were basically saying that you're trying to open back up for the casino owners, which are the people that have a lot of money. But in reality, she's trying to say, no, we're trying to open up for the people because they need to eat and this and that. Who really knows what's going on here in Las Vegas? Who's really calling the shots? It's probably not her. It's probably people that are paying the taxes, most of them, and that's the casinos. So at the end of the day, there's going to be some issues here with who's right and who's wrong, and whose side is she really on, the people, or is it on the casino side? Who the heck knows? I'm not going to sit there and make a judgment on this one, but we know that there's some stuff going on behind the scenes.
In a city that wasn't broken and didn't have disease, back to work. We're 2.3 million people here.
But she makes a point, 2.3 million people here, there was no disease. And I think we're going to talk a little bit here about how many people actually do have it in Nevada. I think it's like less than 4,000, and I think about 150 deaths, somewhere in that neighborhood. And when you look at it overall, I mean, it's really a small amount of people in this area. I mean, there was other areas of the country and other countries, for that matter, that were highly more affected than this particular city. Probably for a number of reasons. Number one, the population isn't very dense here in Las Vegas, so it's, people are spread out more. That's besides the Strip, the rest of the city is very spread out. Okay, so that's probably a good reason why it hasn't spread as much. Number two, it's higher temperatures out here, and it's drier air. So I'm guessing a virus needs moister air and cooler air in order to transmit easier via airborne. And as it gets hotter out here, which we're going to be getting into the hundreds in the next month or so, and pretty much for June, July, and August, we're going to be over 100 every day, even at night, and it's really dry. So that's going to be like really bad for the virus to spread in that kind of environment, which is really good for us. But at the same time, if somebody were to come from another area that, say, they came from Canada where it's colder, or they came from Australia where it's going to be the wintertime, for example, and they came in and they had the virus, they got everybody sick on the plane, they get here, they're in a nightclub, they get everybody sick. It's just a mess, okay? There's possibilities of that kind of stuff going on, and the person that's spreading it around doesn't even know they're sick. So that's what's frustrating about the situation and makes it very difficult. So let's see what else she has to say here.
Don't you think that it's worked in Nevada, in Las Vegas, social distancing? Don't you think it's worked? Because, 163 deaths, that is, compared to some other states, that's low.
So he makes a good point. He's saying that the social distancing has worked, and it makes sense because the area is very spread out. Again, the city is not like a densely populated city. Like, I lived in Chicago for most of my life, and that's different. People are confined into buildings. They're confined into tighter areas, and it makes sense in like a city like New York, it would spread a lot more. I think I did some kind of research, or they talked about Sweden, and I was asking my doctor buddy about it. And he was saying, well, Sweden's not nearly as densely populated as some areas, also, and you can't really take that as a placebo type of thing. If the city's not as densely populated, you're not comparing apples to apples. So, there's a lot of controversy going on in what's right and what's wrong. But let's see how this thing finishes out.
But when you count 150 versus 2.3 million, you have to say, we have to open up. We have to go back.
So there's her point. She's saying, a huge amount of people in the city and just such a small amount of cases, and we need to get back to work. That's her point, and I understand where she's coming from too. It makes sense. It does make sense. And for a lot of people out there that are struggling, the people that are not able to buy food or pay the rent, and the 900,000 people that aren't employed, and maybe some of those people haven't been able to get unemployment insurance or whatnot, then I get her point. I see it.
But hasn't it been because of social distancing that the numbers have been what they are?
So he's saying that because of the social distancing, that's what's worked, and that's why Las Vegas has got low numbers right now, which is arguable if that's the case or not. It probably has some truth to it, I'm guessing.
Casinos reopen. Are you going to be inside those casinos every single night putting your own life on the line?
I have lived in this town for 56 years.
Are you going to go to the casinos every night and put your life on the line all the workers you say you were there holding their hands?
So they don't need it. We weren't broken. We tragically have 150 people we lost. Tragic. We have 2.3 million people here.
I haven't heard you say yes, that you would be sitting on those casino floors every night along with the people that you say you are holding their hands with.
What is the purpose of that? First of all, I have a family.
Because it would be putting your money. It would be putting money where your mouth is, to use a Las Vegas term.
Anderson,
if you say it's safe,
Anderson.
Okay, so you're not willing to sit on the casino floors with them when they reopen and breathe the refiltered air.
All right, so he's really trying hard not to crack a smile on that one, and you could tell that he was really wanted to laugh, but he's got that straight face, and it's just tough for him to not laugh on that one. And she's trying to not avoid the question. He's just saying, okay, well, you're letting everybody go back to the casinos, and that virus is floating around in there. You want to go there and be there every night and take a chance of getting that virus, and she's not willing to say yes. So I totally get his point, and I do see her side of the story too. It's one of those like he said, she said type of things. There's always going to be Democrats, there's going to be Republicans, there's going to be left, and there's going to be right, and nobody's going to be right. Okay, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the federal guidelines. The federal guidelines are saying there's going to be 3 phases. The phase 1 is going to be more like, going back and keeping your distance. Some of the barbershops and whatnot can reopen. Phase 2 is going to be gatherings up to 50 people. And then, you can get to those phases based on the numbers of the state and the city that you're in. If the cases are going down, not going up, then you can potentially go on to the next phase, and then the phase 3 would be the final phase, which would be the the live events and the concerts and the nightclubs and stuff like that. So we could be talking literally months away from the nightclubs opening up. In fact, I talked to one of my buddies who's still employed by the Hakkasan Group, which is a big nightclub owner-operator out here, and they said that they're probably looking at best end of the summer and potentially even end of the calendar year. Okay, so that's what we're looking at right now, which is a little bit frustrating for me because, you can't go too long as a business owner without having any income coming in. So, we're going to have to make some moves this summer. It is what it is. That is kind of how things go. And, there is a petition in Las Vegas that they're talking about doing, trying to get the governor to let people go back to work. But then you got to ask the other questions. The other questions are, is it too soon to go back to work? Are people even going to want to come here, number one? Are people going to want to come here if they can't go to nightclubs and, spend money and go to like the large concerts and the stuff that makes Vegas Vegas? What's the reason of coming here? I mean, I'm sure there's people that want to go to the casinos and gamble or whatever, but that's not what Vegas is really all about these days. People come out here to see shows. They come out here to go to nightclubs and concerts and interact with people and be social. Vegas is a very social city. I mean, you got the nightclubs, you got the strip clubs, you got the day clubs, and everybody wants to hang out at those clubs. That's what those things are built on. That's what this city's built on. And if there's no way for people to interact, then unfortunately it takes the luster and the joy out of coming to the city, in my opinion. And these hotels may open up and the casinos may be open with distancing, but what fun is that? Okay, that's not really any fun. It's not going to make the city a desirable place to be, in my opinion. The New York Times, I caught an article today, and they were talking about how at the end of the day, it's really going to boil down to a couple things. They're saying that everything's like a calculated risk. There's the opioid crisis. That a certain amount of people are going to die and get addicted, and it's just the way it is. And then with automobiles driving, there's a certain amount of people that are going to get in accidents, and that's just kind of the way it is. You have to understand that you can't let everybody be affected, not be able to drive because, a certain small percentage of people are going to get in accidents. And that's what this is really going to come down to at the end of the day, is, how much, unfortunately death and, transmission of this Rona are we going to be okay with, and before it really, weighs against the other side of the fence, which is going to be, the loss of life from, things like suicide and things like, domestic abuse and, losing companies and depression and all the other stuff that's on the other side of the fence. Okay, so the article was good. I'll make sure I link it below. And, it's not a right or wrong answer here. And I want you guys to comment below what you guys feel. If it would be smart to open Las Vegas or if it would be not smart. I would be very curious to see what everybody's opinions are on this particular video. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to take a side on this one. I'm just going to do what I can right now and take what I can focus on personally. And whatever I can focus on personally, I'm going to take and I'm going to make it into whatever I possibly can. Whether it's doing e-com online, if I'm going to do affiliate marketing, if I want to build some more niche authority websites, all that stuff is time consuming and, it takes a little bit of time to get it up and running. We are running some tests right now. But at the end of the day, that's a hand of cards that I was dealt, and that's what I can control. I'm not going to sit here and look at all these headlines and cry about this and cry about that. I can't control that. What I can control is what I can do every day in front of my computer, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the best I can, try to make the most money I can with what I have, which is my internet connection and my computer, and we're going to go on and try to make things right. I'm going to leave you with this. This is one of the governors of, I believe, Michigan, and she talks about her side of the view, which is a lot different than the mayor of Las Vegas. I'm going to close it out with this, and hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I'm the Marketing Meathead. Make sure you like that video. If you like the video, make sure you like the buttons, share this with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
The one thing that gives me personally as a citizen great hope is that science knows what to do. Science tells us social distancing works, and we have seen that. It's just, it's a hard thing to do, and there's obviously a lot of other factors at play, but we know the only thing that works. It's the only tool we really have.
Right, is to just stay away from one another. The virus can't transfer from me to you if we're not together. It's really that simple. It doesn't make isolation easier. It doesn't make the loss of a job easier, or the loss of a business. But we do know that we have the power to bring this virus to its knees. But we have to observe these practices, and that's how we save lives, and that's how we shorten the amount of time that we are in this posture, and we can thoughtfully, responsibly think about re-engaging sectors of the economy once it's safe to do so.
Yeah, Governor Carolyn Goodman, I appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you.